cannot be manipulated. It's not controlled by anything. The price cannot be fixed by any. And when you travel, you can't travel with more than $10,000 cash on you. So Bitcoin now, one Bitcoin in Japan is worth one Bitcoin in the United States, one Bitcoin in Switzerland, one Bitcoin in Australia. It's the same currency, which makes things much faster and much easier. The only prerequisite for access to these coins is an internet connection. That's it. There's no barrier of entry here. We've got more than 2 billion unbanked people in the world today. And if you don't have access to banks, you don't have access to being able to build your credit, you don't have any access to building wealth. So for the first time, Bitcoin is now allowing individuals to have access to the global financial system. So why would Nakamoto choose to remain anonymous, the creator of Bitcoin? Why wouldn't he take this fame, walk down the red carpet in Hollywood, be the richest man that has ever lived? Why would he choose to remain anonymous? Well, if the inventor of Bitcoin wants to remain anonymous, it's for a good reason. By maintaining anonymity, they've avoided adverse legal consequences, making their anonymity at least partially responsible for the currency's success. And I actually respect that. Because one of the worst things that can happen is when you look up to somebody, is when you meet them for the first time and you realize that they're human. And they can let you down. I remember when I met Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, you know, when I grew up, they were the world to me. But then I meet them in real life, there's another guy with talent. Satoshi Nakamoto, by releasing who he is now tainting what Bitcoin is. Because now it doesn't become about Bitcoin, it becomes about him. You understand that? Also, you think the governments would allow Satoshi Nakamoto out there? They don't want this. They will lock him up in a minute and throw up legal or not against him. Or her, as Diana realized that they said Satoshi Nakamoto. And as I say that, we had the Crypto Invest Summit in LA. Monday was all women. Women's Day in crypto. I said, where are the women in crypto? And first thing on stage was, Satoshi Nakamoto is a woman. I said, what? As I listened to them explain, I got to tell you something. The whole event, the best day was that Monday. The women got it. The women had a more personal touch. They didn't talk in these codes and languages and algorithms and computer graphics and coding and all that stuff. They said it how it is. The women said, this is my freedom right here. This is my way to have independent wealth. Independent of my husband, independent of my job, independent of a man, independent of the system that's designed to treat me less than a man. And they love this. I don't understand. Hopefully you women in here can start this new wave. But when women understand the freedom that this is, I'll tell you something, in the rest of the world, the women get it. Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they realize that this is their freedom. So besides, one of the founding principles of Bitcoin is that it's a decentralized currency, untethered to conspicuous institutions or individuals. In his original proposition on Bitcoin, Nakamoto wrote, what is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need of a trusted third party. Back in the day, my grandfather bought everything on the barter system. We're in Compton, California, we go down to the swap meet, and he go to the table and he knows somebody, sees something he wants, he picks it up and he walks away. Grandpa, you gonna pay for that? He said, oh no, I'm gonna go by Johnny's house next week and help him out with his motor. So, oh, that's how that works? And in our neighborhood, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of money, so people would help out with each other. My grandma grew vegetables in her backyard. So she traded that with another neighbor for some clothes or for something else. This is how the community worked back then. It was based on trust. Even now, the money, US dollar, is based on trust because it's not backed by anything. George W. Bush came out after the economic collapse and said, Americans, chill out. If we don't trust, everything falls apart. We got to have trust. You don't need trust in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is backed by a mathematical algorithm that makes trust irrelevant. It works because it's designed to work that way. Doesn't matter your opinion, doesn't matter your political affiliation, doesn't matter the economics of a country. None of that matters. It is what it is. It's math. So we're going to introduce, and you're living in right now, the third industrial revolution. Has anybody seen a documentary on the History Channel called The Men Who Built America? Raise your hand if you've seen that. If you have not, that's part of your homework assignment. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin or crypto, but it has a lot to do with financial literacy. How this country came about. The men who built America, the Rockefellers, the J.P. Morgans, the Henry Fords, the Thomas Edisons, at a time when there was no regulation and it was ultimate capitalistic freedom in the United States. The kings of the world were the people who had the money when the big banks came. Watch that episode. That was the Industrial Revolution in America now. We are now at the vanguard of the biggest revolution this world has ever seen. And we are lucky to be alive at the beginning of this. Now, history is going to record what you do during this time. And I'm going to talk about that later in a moment. It might scare some. So what is the blockchain? When I started doing my research, I learned two things. I shared it last night. Number one, cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people, meaning all of you. There's no barrier of entry. Doesn't matter your race, your sex, your religion, what state you live in, what country you were born in, what language you speak, whether you're rich or poor. None of that matters. All that matters is that you have access to the internet and a willingness to learn, which everybody on the planet has equal access to this. The technology that cryptocurrency is built on is called the blockchain, distributed ledger technology. The blockchain represents the Internet 2.0. It is the next version of the Internet. It is now the ability to transfer ownership of data digitally. It solves one of the world's biggest problems. How do humans interact with each other on a trustful way without the need of an intermediary to get involved that may or may not be biased against you? This solves that problem. So the blockchain is a peer-to-peer IT infrastructure that records a transaction between two parties in a real time for all participants in the network, so that it becomes tamper-proof and immutable. But you got to understand the evolution of money. And the one thing I see, and even my own brother is a college grad, owns his own business. He's 40 years old, born in 1978. And when he heard me doing this, he said, so Bitcoin is a crypto, what is that? It says cryptocurrency. He said, kryptonite? I said, no, cryptocurrency. Kryptonite? Devin, cryptographic, break up the word, currency. What's currency? Then he was like, that's not going to last. I mean, it's not backed by anything. At least money, the dollar's backed by gold. He's educated with his own business. I said, Devin, the U.S. dollar hasn't been backed by gold since 1971. It was never backed by gold in your entire life. And he was like, oh. So that's another thing that we lack is financial literacy. You got to know where money came from. See, in the very early days, people exchanged value in a barter system, like my grandfather did, by trading goods followed by the development of commodity money. Then money came in. With the rise of banking arose a debt-based system where we deposited gold with the bank and they issued us a piece of paper representing how much gold we had in the bank. Does that make sense? You following that? After all, it's much easier to carry around paper bills than a bag of gold. In 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard, ending the ability of people to redeem U.S. dollars for gold at the Federal Reserve, allowing the government full autonomy to freely print money. And the money is called fiat money, and the rest of the world follows suit doing this. Fiat currencies, which are now commonplace around the world, are not backed by tangible assets, only the promise from the government. Unfortunately, this led to currency manipulation, devaluation of governments to erode massive federal deficits. We live in the greatest country in the world right now, and we're $21 trillion in debt. I think for us to cover the U.S. debt, every household or every individual would have to pay over $400,000, every American, to pay off the current national debt. The world global debt's over $200 trillion, the entire world. We are living in a debt-based society, and the bill's going to come due eventually. And you see economies like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Kenya, that are even happening in Greece a couple years ago, where rapid inflation took place. And all the money that you've been working for all your life, working 30, 40 hours or years on a job, you have money in the savings, all that money still can't even afford a price of bread because their inflation rose 1,000,000% in 1 year. 1,000,000%. They're living off of Bitcoin because it's more profitable for mine Bitcoin. One Bitcoin for them makes you rich in Venezuela. And if it can happen over there, who's to say it cannot happen here? It has happened here before, just not in our lifetime yet. We haven't experienced that. So governments controlling money means it's always going to end bad. Let's talk about the very first ledger. So I like to break things down in layman's terms, not all that mumbo-jumbo nerd talking here at expos. The first ledger is the first way we all dealt with money. The old middle dark ages where the king had the only bank. And the richest people in the land were those that served the king and tax collectors. And tax collectors would go around and they would tell you, this is how much money you owe, and they have their own little documentation or mark it down. But what's stopping them from erasing it and putting whatever number they want? That's how they became rich, because they were skimming from the taxes. Or the dock harbors. When you would come into port and bring your goods and services in, the dock master will record the product you're bringing in, and then when you're ready to leave, will record how much you sold and figure out how much you owe it in taxes to be coming into their country. What's stopping them from changing the records? So they always had to have a separate income set aside just to bribe the dock masters, bribe the tax guys. But if he says you owe more money, there's no recourse. There's no lawyers back then. There's no say, he owes me money. Nope. You're out. That was the first ledger. Enter the second ledger to solve that problem of being exploited by individuals who are in charge of the money. We now have the banking system. The banking system means this. You work a job, you get your check, and the first thing you do is it goes direct deposit, or you go to the bank and you put your money in the bank. Do you know what happens to your money after you put it in the bank? You see the numbers on your computer screen, how much you got in your account, but the moment you do that, the bank takes your money and starts investing in it. And then, at the end of the year, if you didn't get penalized to death and you didn't pull it out, they might reward you with a 0.1% increase. And they say that's a good thing. You're supposed to be excited by that. Because they know most people, the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in their savings accounts. More than 70% of Americans are living on less than $33,000 a year. So most Americans aren't even thinking about wealth generation. They're trying to live paycheck to paycheck. They're trying to survive. But the banking system, we at least know our money is safe. It's safe. It's not going to get robbed. Yeah, the bank may make money off of it, but that's just the way it is. But it's a way to document our wealth. No more putting money underneath your mattress at home. Your house burns down, what happens to your money? If your house gets robbed, what happens to your money? So this is all we know. But there's a third entity, which means when I go to the store and I buy something, I'm given a receipt. That receipt records the transaction. When I have interactions with other people, we may have a contract. That contract represents a transaction. If you have a dispute, where do you go? You take it either to the bank, you get a lawyer, you go to court. All of that costs money. And who's paying for all of those services? We are, out of the money we earn. If you want to transfer money from one country to another, it goes through all these other third-party systems that charge a whole lot of fees just to move your money around. It takes time. And more time it takes, it slows down business. It slows down interaction. It slows down innovation. But that's all we've had. One of the biggest problems is double spending. The blockchain solved the double spending problem. But before we get to that, enter the information age. So we all went through the internet age. Does anybody remember a time before the internet? We don't have too many millennials in here right now. Life was good. I remember life was good when I had my little Nintendo, and that's all I had. Well done. Life was good without the internet. We played outside until the street lights came on. We interacted. We actually spoke with each other. Then the internet came on. Connected the world. As far as I'm concerned, it's completely disconnected the world.
Right.
But technology, I'm not blaming the technology, that's just humans interacting in the technology. But the world became smaller. You can now interact with people anywhere in the world instantaneous. Email came on. No longer having to write. My son found a letter that I wrote to my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. She lived in Philly and I was in LA. One conversation took a week and a half. I had to write the letter, put it in, 3 days for her to get it. She'd read it, she'd have to write back, send it back, because long distance was so expensive. We tried the long distance thing, and my first bill my dad dropped on my bed was $200. Well, I was like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. We're writing letters. And he saw, he was like, what is this? Letters? There's no email stuff. When pagers came out, and we wanted to text, you know what we did? Use numbers, flip that thing upside down, and turn the numbers into letters. That was our texting.
Yeah.
Remember the flip phones? And then when texting actually came, and you had to, on each number, you had 4 letters above it. A. Kids today don't know that, but that's how life was. The internet changed everything. It's the information age. They instantly transfer information and data instantly. But it also has a problem. The problem is now you're not able to transfer ownership. All we're doing is sharing. We share music, we share pictures, we share our information on Facebook. But you don't actually own it. So if I take a picture, that's my copyright, and I send it to somebody else, they have a copy and I have a copy. And then they send it to somebody else. Now there's 3 copies, there's 4 copies. That's what we call the double spin. So the idea of having digital money on the internet at this time was not conceivable, because I can't have $1 and you have the same dollar I just gave you. We just have copies. But that was the information age. As it continued to grow, enter the digital age, the blockchain. The digital age is now, for the very first time ever, we are able to transfer ownership of data. So if I own something and I send it over the internet to you, you now own it, and I no longer have it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So instead of me sending you a copy of a Bitcoin, I'm actually sending you the Bitcoin. How is that transaction being recorded? The blockchain records that transaction. What makes it so significant is the fact that it's not just recorded on my computer and the person's computer I sent it to. It's being recorded on every computer in the network. So that person can't say, I didn't get my Bitcoin. Oh yeah, we got it verified on 4 million computers out there in the world. This transaction took place. So you can't be cheated. They took my money and ran off with it. And they say, no, I didn't. Well, let's look on the blockchain. There it is. Can't be hacked. Can't be changed. Now, this opens up a whole new world. What about artists and musicians who, when the internet age came on, they couldn't put their music online because people would start stealing their music? And honestly, I don't remember the last time I bought an album. Maybe before my youngest son was born. He's 11. My oldest is 19. Maybe 20 years ago? Last time I actually bought, I did buy the Black Panther soundtrack. I did do that. I had to get money for that. But I haven't bought any albums, because you can get it online. I can listen to any music I want to at any given point. We now have access to every single music and movie that has ever been made in history. You never have to pay for it if you know where to go. So what does that do to the artists and their money and their hard work? So they say, well, I'll just create my own website and sell my music. People can still copy it. Now with the blockchain, an artist can now own their intellectual property without having to have a music industry to steal all their money. You know, the BMs, the Electra, all the music business companies, they are their own company. They can sell their own music, paintings, books, whatever, on their own network on the blockchain. That is huge for entrepreneurship. The digital age. Blockchain technology is the new internet. By allowing digital information to be distributed but not copied, blockchain technology created the backbone of a new type of internet. Originally devised for the digital currency Bitcoin, the tech community is now finding other potential uses for the blockchain. It is limitless. Here's a couple of quotes. And these quotes, when I read, they just shook me to my core. Because who am I going to listen to? about this stuff. When you talk to people off the street, that's a scam, that's not going to work. It's not. My broke cousin Pookie don't know what he's talking about. You know, the barbershop guys, there's always in the barbershop one guy in there that's the smartest dude I've ever seen. He knows something about everything, he's always broke. So I ain't got to listen to him. What about this quote here? Moreover, what we view as money has changed over time. Cowrie shells once were such a medium, but no longer are. Our currency originally included gold coins and bullion. But after 1934, gold could not be used as a medium of exchange. Perhaps one day employees would be paid in Bitcoin or some other type of cryptocurrency. And you know who said that? Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. Those of you who are sitting there and you say to yourself, this doesn't mean anything to me, you know, I'm going to leave here, I'm going to go home and continue my life. You're going to wake up one day and start driving around, you're going to see Bitcoin ATMs everywhere. You're going to stop off at Starbucks and get your cup of coffee or a grocery store, and you're going to see, we now accept crypto as payments. You're going to say, what's that? Worst off, you're going to go to your job, and your boss is going to call you and say, yeah, we're now moving to digital, you need a Bitcoin wallet, but we're paying your salary in Bitcoin. Whether you like it or not, you go, whoa, he just said it. Perhaps one day employees will be paid in Bitcoin. Look at this one. Bitcoin is the best development ever. Bitcoin might be the most significant development in human history, and that the revolution is bigger than the internet. Billionaire Tim Draper says this. How about this one? This one really knocked me out. Virtual currencies will become part of the economic practices of any country, anywhere. Let me repeat that. These currencies are not going away, and they will proliferate to every economy in every part of the planet. Some places, small economies, may become dependent on virtual assets for survival. Venezuela, Zimbabwe. And these currencies will be outside traditional monetary intermediaries, like governments, banks, investors, ministries, international organizations. We are witnessing a technological revolution. Perhaps we are witnessing a modern-day miracle. Sounds like a prophet saying that. You know who said it? CFTC Chairman Rostin Binham. These are people who control. They're the movers and the shakers of the world. This is the top echelon. They decide our fate. They already know what's going on. Broke cousin Pookie, Supreme Court Justice. Broke cousin Pookie, billionaire Tim Draper. Now, blockchain and mining. Now, you might have heard this term mining. What is mining? Well, just like mining for gold. You go out to the west, start digging in the ground for gold. And why is gold valuable? Because it's finite and it's hard to find. That simple thing alone, and it's shiny, has another real use besides technology, but makes it valuable. Bitcoin is digital gold. That's what it is. And we're mining for it. But mining is basically machines that solve a mathematical problem, a mathematical algorithm. And once that algorithm is solved, it's creating a block. And the block, we just use the term block because the block is what's storing the data. So when we may do transactions, it's storing that data in that block. When that block fills up, then it goes on to build another block with more data. And they're all linked together. Then another block. The reward for building this block is Bitcoin. When this whole thing got started. You got to incentivize somebody to put together a machine, pay for the energy cost of that machine to run, to solve this mathematical problem. They've got to be incentivized to do that. Their reward for doing it is Bitcoin. The idea of decentralization, and this is important to understand why this is so powerful. By design, the blockchain is a decentralized technology. Anything that happens on it is a function of the network as a whole. Some important implications stem from this. By creating a new way to verify transactions, aspects of traditional commerce could be unnecessary. Stock market trades become almost simultaneous on the blockchain, for instance, or it could make types of record keeping, like a land registry, fully public. And decentralization is already a reality. A global network of computers uses blockchain technology to jointly manage a database that records Bitcoin transactions. That is, Bitcoin is managed by its network and not any one central authority. Decentralization means the network operates on a user-to-user, peer-to-peer basis. That's how this works. It's not controlled by anybody. But everybody's going to want to use this type of technology. I'll give you a couple of examples. Anybody see what's going on in South Africa right now with the redistribution of land and the farms and the controversy it's causing? Because when you have the land was originally for the native people, then the colonizers came and took the land, but they've been having control of that land for almost 200, 300 years, and then now the government changed, and now they want to give the land back to the native population. Only this time, what type of records were kept to be able to determine the descendants who actually owned the land? How do you determine that? So it's a fight going on. And then you have the colonizers that are there like, we didn't take this land. My family's been here for 80 years. I was born on this land. So what right do you have to take it from me? And how do I know that that person that you want to give it to, they might have had 50 million different cousins out there. So now you've got family members saying, I'm a direct descendant, and then you have another cousin saying from a different tribe, I'm a direct descendant. There was no land registry back then. The blockchain would have recorded all of that. And you would know exactly. DNA, everything that we do is going to be put on the blockchain. I am so glad I grew up in the 90s and went to college. Because we didn't have Facebook and MySpace back in the 90s to record me hanging out at Freaknik and doing stupid stuff. Everything you do now is being recorded. I'm not telling on myself now. I have plausible deniability because there's no videos. Show me evidence. But today, how many names? Raise your hand. What about your great-great-grandfather? Just a few. You know who really knows their ancestors' names? Rich kids. They know the Rockefellers. The Gates, no, not the Gates, the Kennedys. They know Joe Kennedy. They know Johnny Rockefeller. They know the Rothschilds. Why? Because they left them something. They left a legacy. But today, because of the blockchain, your descendants are going to be able to look at it and know exactly what you had for dinner last night because you posted it on Facebook. They're going to know what you think. They're going to know how your day was. They're going to know how your life was. They're going to know your political affiliation. They're going to know if you were on the right or the wrong side of history. They're going to know, wow, when this whole digital revolution was taking place, Granddad was out messing around and not paying attention. So now, when I realize this, I'm very mindful of what I do, what I say on social media, how I interact, because I am now going to be watched by my children, their children, their children. And because I'm positioned, I'm going to have something to leave them for generations. And they'll be able to go back and say, yeah, Granddad, great-granddad did that. That's why we're here today. And I don't want them to say, great-granddad was alive during that time and did absolutely nothing, and that's why we're broke today. Legacy. So who will use the blockchain? Everybody. The system is being built underneath you right now. I'm going to talk about that in the next section in a second. Everybody's going to use the blockchain, whether you like it or not. You all have two choices. The first choice is to get positioned and ride the rocket before it takes off and get paid. The second choice is to sit back and let the system get dropped on top of your head, and you're forced to have to take advantage of it. All the corporations are getting prepared for this. You choose, because there's another thing you need to understand. If you want to not just thrive the rest of this century, but survive, you must know about this technology. So that ends this section. Is there anybody that needs to run to the bathroom real quick? All right, let's take a quick 3 to 5 minute bathroom break. We're going to come back. We're going to move to this next section, and the next section is about why should this matter to you. All right, so everybody, thanks for listening.